Chairman of the session, General Mahapatra, General Sharma, ladies and gentlemen. I can see three ladies in the afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak to you and share my views and thoughts about the technological advancement and how they can be used in the military environment. But I see I'm the last speaker of this session. So being the last speaker, you have advantage as well as disadvantage. The disadvantage first. The thing is that the whole day distinguished speakers have already spoken so much that you hardly left with anything to add on. And it's really very difficult to find value addition to what has already been said. But the advantage is that if you are in the last speaker in the second half of the day, means after the lunch, then I think that people tend to sleep. And then you can just carry on whatever you want to say. But unfortunately for me, most of the audience is still awake, thanks to the speaker who have spoken so well in earlier, that people are so in course and still awake and attentive. So I have to really do a good job to ensure that you remain awake and don't go to sleep. So today's topic is that how we can leverage the COTS technology to ensure that military communication is also continue to grow in the right direction. As we all know that technologies can be used, and now we are going for a tactical internet environment for armed forces. So why not use the COTS technology, commercially off-the-shelf technology for this? Yes, there have been attempts earlier also that where how best we can use the technological advancement which is going on in the outside world to meet the communication requirement of armed forces. But before that, I'll just take you back when we had the First World War, Second World War, and even the Cold War session. We all know that the technological advancement, especially in the field of communication, it was much, much ahead when it comes to defense environment. The technologies used by defense forces was much, much better than what was used at that particular time in civil world. In fact, the wireless communication till 80s used to be just with defense forces or maybe police. Civil world was not aware of that kind of technology. But slowly, after the Cold War is over, suddenly those technologies which were used by defense forces at that particular time started getting into the civil world. And when mass adoption took place of those technology, the huge amount of R&D, research and development effort went into that. And then there was a steep rise in the technological advancement which is going on in the civil world. And we all see now that each and everybody, we have got almost more than 700 million subscribers in India who are just wireless, whereas I think 15 years back, it used to be just defense forces who used to have wireless communication. So now we see that even the civil world, I'm just talking about 345. In fact, now it is going to 500 Mbps data rate we are talking about when it comes to the radio links. And it's just that, IP, Ethernet on the radio we are talking about. Whereas in defense, we are still, just picking up the thing. So I want to say that why not use whatever available in the defense, in the civil, to customize it to defense usages and use whatever technology has been developed to your advantages. As we all know that this is a typical the trend which is going on in our defense network. Whereas at present, as we all see that most of the defense forces all over the world, when it comes to the strategic network, they are more or less COTS network, because there is absolutely no requirement of going to the customization, except that there's some security features which require to protect the network and intrusion and all. But definitely those things are, again, in the civil world also being developed that way. And slowly, these COTS technology have to come up towards the tactical area and even to the combat area, because of course combat area is very, very complex area where definitely it requires a very customized solution. But definitely in the tactical area, a lot of technologies are getting into. We all know that American forces who are fighting in Afghanistan, they are using, all of them are using smartphones, which are commercially available. So those things are now coming into the tactical environment. When it comes to, if you just compare the requirement of commercial as well as the defense technologies when it comes to wireless communication, in civil world, it's the more capacity is one of the drivers, and then it has to be proven technology. And then it has to be a low cost, definitely. If you want the technology to be adopted outside world, that it has to be proven one, and low cost, shorter delivery time, and the delivery drives the new technology. That is, it has to be future proof. And when it comes to a defense environment, we got to have the same equipment, the wireless equipment, working in the military frequency band, because we cannot work in the band which is open band. Then security requirements are definitely there, where you have security on the transmission side as well as communication side. And the lifetime of the equipment, it has to be ruggedized so that it can be used in the tactical environment. And autonomous communication, that is mobility for tactical communication. And it is must. But if you see, but yes, there is a difference between the commercial and the military world. But if you see that advancement which is taking place in commercial world, it is more or less the same what you require or what we require in defense services. That is security. Now, till few years back, security used to be very, very tightly confined to a defense environment, that defense network has to be secure and all. But today, the same thing is being asked by the civil users. When we are going towards, when your mobile phone is going to act as your smart card or your credit card, definitely you will need the similar kind of security to protect your transaction through your mobile as what otherwise in a military scenario definitely you will be using when we are transmitting the data and all. Similarly, scalability. Now, the small cells and island, extra capacity, frequency use, all those things are now again being demanded by the civil world. And the technology has to come up to meet their requirement. Mobility, as I said, that mobility definitely, it used to be defense, and then now everybody is using the mobility. Availability of the network, 24/7, is a civil as well as what the defense wants. Then IP-based network, of course, most of the now planning of communication networks of defense also on IP, whereas civil world, we all see that most of the networks are IP-based. Then increased data capacity. Yes, there's a requirement, huge requirement of data, as Marshal Ganesh has already pointed out that when that picture was taken from satellite and then from that it was sent to DIPAC and DIPAC to Eastern Air Command. Definitely, all these live pictures require a huge capacity. You require a huge capacity, a pipe to transmit these kind of information. So there is a requirement on both the sides, and of course flexibility. It has to be future-proof and layered architecture, because in our system also, the architecture of the network has to be layered from it. So there is a huge commonality now coming up with COTS as well as the defense. And defense needs to leverage the advantage of R&D which has already gone into the civil world, and adopt those technology in such a fashion that it meets your requirement, definitely. So transforming, now IP network is the next generation. We all are talking about that next move towards the communication network as far as defense is concerned. It's the IP-based network. And definitely we require that kind of thing, and we can leverage again from the civil world and use a similar kind of thing in defense. This is just a typical network what we have in any typical defense forces. We have the network where a strategic network is more or less the COTS, fixed broadband, and we are planning to have wireline network. Whereas when it comes to tactical and tactical access, definitely it has to be wireless network. And a lot of radios and the last mile connectivity will be required. Now, I'll just give you a few examples that what in the civil world we have the COTS technology to which can meet the defense requirement is the high capacity radios, the radios which can provide you 500 Mbps data link. It's a huge number, and definitely this can be a future-proof radio which can meet the IP requirement in the tactical environment as well as the static environment. There are some the features of those radios which are available, that they work in military band, that is band 4, and then they have interference and jamming resistance also, mobility, equipment protection also, then performance is very high performance, up to 512 QAM, up to 500 Mbps per 56 megahertz channel. And they are best-in-class output power and ruggedized also, because they are also in civil world also, they are also working in all weather conditions, without any maintenance. And similarly, as we are all hearing that 3G is coming in the civil world. Now, why not utilize complete whatever 3G development which is taking place in the civil world to tactical environment or to strategic environment? Air Force has already taken up the step forward, and they have already gone for adopting this technology for their strategic uses. But why not use the same technology for tactical environment? There are equipment available, the compact nodes, complete switching nodes are available, which can be just taken into the field, put it there, and within half an hour, you can establish a network there and connect all your soldiers through that network. And they work in the same 3G band, definitely. And the best advantage of this, that these are future-proof technology, because the thing is that ITU, and we all know that 3GPP standard organization, they have clear roadmap going from 3G to LTE or 4G and LTE advanced. So you can later on you can continue upgrading this equipment. You're not stuck with the technology, and then later on you have to send and you have to throw it out. You can continue updating these technologies. And this is the roadmap this technology has got, 3G technology going up to LTE advanced, and which we can get even 1 gigabit on the last mile connectivity on your mobile phone, sort of a thing. So just summarizing that, the trend is now towards COTS and all IP, and we must see that the same the technological advances we can leverage that advancement to use the same thing in our defense communication networks. And since it brings more capacity at a lower cost and approaching military, this can meet military needs also. This is what I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arif. We have about 30 minutes approximately for questions and answers. Yes. Yes, Ms. Badmal.
There are two questions for EVM Ganesh, and one question I think to the panel as general subject. You refer to Maoist problem in India. Can I ask you if NCW can or does offer any solution for such a problem? And the second thing is, you said that we are still far from joint. What do you think can be the reason behind? And also, is it good for the country if we are far from jointness? This Third question is, information dominance is good for victory and required for victory. But are we also looking at the fact that information overload can be a problem? Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you for your question. The first is regarding Maoists or any other group. Basically, we can there are certain options of let's say surveillance. The mic on. The mic is on, I suppose. Yeah.
You have a hand mic?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. There are certain options which are basically surveillance options. It was actually I wouldn't classify it so much as network centric, only restricted to the effect that okay, you have a UAV, or you have something like Honeywell has a T-Hawk, which is a vertical takeoff kind of a UAV, and it can take photographs, and it can monitor certain whatever is happening on the ground and transmit them real time to an observer located somewhere else. It can also be relayed if there's another UAV airborne, etc. So what it is doing actually is just transmitting a real time picture from that particular location to a remote observer wherever it is. That's it. So that remote observer is aware of what is happening there on the ground. To that extent, yes, it is network centric. So we do have a solution. Similarly, a UAV comes with different types of payloads. There could be even the T-Hawk, the VTOL UAV which I spoke about, that also has IR options, infrared options. There are UAVs with SAR options. Basically, in other words, what I'm trying to say is it's not just restricted to daylight, it could be in the night also. There are options on, as far as your awareness of what goes on in inaccessible areas or inhospitable areas, that goes up tremendously. The second is, I made that statement about joint warfare, joint operations, because we are going through a period of hiccups. I don't think there'll be anybody here who will vouch for the fact. Try as hard as we want, there are some hiccups between the way we interact and the way we actually get things done. Okay, I won't go into it further because I'm out of it for about 2 years, but I know for a fact that it's a question of growing up. I'm sure we'll get it right given some time. But my point in mentioning that was when we do get it right, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen day after. But tomorrow or day after will be too late because we'd have procured equipment which have a life of about 20 or 30 years and we stuck with it. We can't junk it overnight. So when we start planning and procuring equipment now, we have to start thinking of making it interoperable right from the word go. Even if our own organization imperatives don't allow us to operate that way, but we must retain the option. That was my point. Your third point was info dominance and information overload. If you remember right in the beginning of my talk, I did make a statement, and for precisely this reason, that in the slides I showed all kinds of information going every which way, from the satellite down, aircraft to ground, ground to aircraft, aircraft to aircraft. It doesn't necessarily mean that you open the floodgates and just let loose all information. You'll end up with just clogging the network so badly and land up precisely with what you said, information overload. So we have to be very, very selective about it. You have the means to send information wherever you want. Doesn't mean you do send information everywhere. You send it to exactly that amount of information which is required. For example, a simple, I'll give you a simple example. When I spoke about bomb damage assessment, BDA, the first picture is a detailed picture with a high resolution, etc. The second picture only shows you the differences. So I'm just quoting a figure. If the first picture is 1 MB or 800 KB,